Hello, everyone. We are here at Academy Day number 8, and I'm here with Lon Grohs from Chaos Group. So nice to meet you. Our podcast is already live, so people can, just go to thespectrum.com and listen to the 1-hour session we did. But for those who didn't and watch this video, a short introduction, who you are, what is your role at Chaos Group?
Sure. Yeah, so Lon Grohs at Chaos Group. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer. I also head up our Los Angeles office, and we have a group out of there we call Chaos Group Labs, which started out as an idea to venture into some of the new tech that's out there, specifically like VR and AR, and work with some of the local artists as well as research facilities. And we actually had an opportunity to start to demo some of that here today, and we talked a little bit about it on the podcast. So at State of Art, we demoed a couple of different solutions for VR with 6 degrees of freedom. And for most people, VR is something that they've experienced on the Gear VR, and that's 3 degrees of freedom, where you stand in one spot and you look 360 degrees around. But that's a great, simple solution, and it works out for a lot of things. But the first thing that you want to do naturally when you get into VR is you want to tilt your head, or you want to move around slightly. And it doesn't mean that you want to walk necessarily very far in it, but to feel immersed, you need that additional freedom. And so we've been working with a few different technology partners. The first one that we showcased was working with a group called No Zone, and they're a group out of Belgium. And they've created a plugin called Presence. And Presence is a viewer for 6 degrees of freedom, pre-rendered VR. So that means if you take your scene that you normally set up, and let's say, for instance, you've got this beautiful V-Ray scene, and you want to take that right into VR. Well, we're working to make it a one-button solution where literally you just define a volume, a size that you want to be in. And of course, there are different limitations on that. Mostly, the ultimate sizes of the volumes are determined by how big the space is that you can use, say, in a Vive, right, which is room scale. But we want to create a one-button solution that lets you take your pre-rendered stuff, bring it right in there, and put on the Vive or the Oculus and be there. And we've showed that demo, all day yesterday and today. And the thing that I get excited about is everybody leaves with a big smile, or holy shit, or that's crazy, or they kind of get charged up about it. The other demo that we were showing is we're also working with another company called Lytro, and Lytro is sort of known in the consumer market where they made their camera that could focus after taking the photograph, and that was using their light field technology. So very impressive wall of patents that they have in their office about all the work that they've done in light field. And light field is exciting because it's the best. It's the best VR I've ever seen. And it should be, because it's fully ray traced, fully pre-rendered, and it has view-dependent reflections, refractions, so that when you move your head, it looks correct. And again, people, when I show them the demos, they're absolutely blown away. And I think you saw the demo. So what was your impression of it?
Well, first thing, I tried to avoid the table because it was so real. So it is amazing. It's by far best thing I've seen in VR. So besides that, and maybe in continuation to that, what are the next stages? What are the next plans for Chaos Group in that realm? And maybe you can tell us a little bit about other things you do, because you've mentioned V-Ray for Unreal, and you had partnership with companies like Adobe, integrating V-Ray inside Photoshop, for example, which I'm sure many people don't know yet. So what it is you're trying to venture into next?
So let me start with the Adobe part first. We actually worked with them to integrate V-Ray into their new tool on the Creative Cloud called Felix. At least that's the name for now. It's in beta until it's released. And it's a really great application. In fact, I think one of the guys here pulled up some screens of it to talk about how they're using artificial intelligence and machine learning to take, say a 2D photograph from stock of maybe a beach scene or something, and now turn that into a 360-degree HDRI and light your scene. And of course, that works perfectly with V-Ray. V-Ray sees that and renders right in Felix, and so it's pretty great. For me, that's been sort of a personal passion of bringing rendering technology, the power of rendering, to more and more people, and people that we're used to using Max and SketchUp and all kinds. And I mean, even SketchUp to a normal person is pretty complicated, right? And the idea of making it as simple as possible for people that have never even used a 3D application could now start to take an idea that they had in their mind and experiment with it and visualize it. So that's really exciting. On the Unreal front, there's so many people in architecture and ArcViz and actually in other industries as well, automotive and design industries, where the ability to bring their visualizations into real time and a real time engine is something that they desperately want to do. And the challenge has been, how does your typical pipeline converge with the real-time pipeline? So you go through a content creation scenario, whether it's Max or Maya or whatever application, and now you want to feed that data into a real-time render, but you don't want to lose all of the rest of the work that you've done. And so we've been working closely with the team from Epic to do this in a couple of different ways. So Epic has their solution that they're working on called Datasmith. And the way we describe Datasmith is that's going to give you the most flexibility to keep your assets, once they're in Unreal, to be sort of the most basic Unreal, the most flexible objects in Unreal. And we may be able to work out ways for the V-Ray properties to come through cleanly, and then if you have V-Ray for Unreal on the back end, maybe it can even see that data and do some special things. Our idea for a plugin is to be able to export a VR scene file and directly import that into the Unreal editor. And that takes all of that scene data, wraps it up, brings it in, and lets you work in Unreal, bake it out using Lightmass and all that. And now you've got a real-time solution that you could walk around through. But it keeps all the V-Ray metadata so that if you want to ray trace it, if you want to render it, so you pick out a still image or you want to render an animation to your normal pipeline, you can. You could just ray trace it directly from there. And so it kind of gives people the connectivity that they're looking for from both sides of things. Yeah, we're kind of excited to see where it goes. The other thing that, sort of what's next for me, what do I hope that we can do? There's still a ways to go with the VR tech, solving the problems, making the workflow simple. It's got to be push button in order to just keep it clean. There's some optimizations that we'd like to work out, but ultimately too, I'd like to see that translate into the AR sphere, because I think that's going to explode in terms of what the capabilities are and what people want to do in AR. And it's also, everybody's got a cell phone or will have a cell phone that's going to have AR functionality. So it'll be much more widely available, I think, than the VR headsets. And we're already used to kind of having a phone in our hand. So if we can see ray traced objects, perfectly integrated in whatever space that we want, I'd love to see that. I think we need a little more computing power, but maybe the cloud can handle it.
Okay, so if you're looking, I think you're looking for new talent to join the team, maybe at Labs. So specifically, what kind of artist or what kind of professional are you looking to join the team, and what's the best way for them to present themselves to you?
So, at KS Group, we've been growing quite a bit lately, and we're always looking for exceptional, programmers, great minds, people that have a passion for this. In Labs specifically, we're always on the lookout for artists that have this natural curiosity, maybe a blend between programming and artistry and so on. A few other things that we're always on the lookout for too from the community is we're always looking out for great materials or interesting scenes and demos that people have put together. Because you saw what we showed. We showed a kind of a basic Evermotion scene, which did the trick. But I would love to walk into a gorgeous space, and I know there's a lot of people in the community that are creating really great work. And so if we ever could get our hands on some, beautiful assets and things like that, it would be perfect to bring in.
Thank you very much, Lon. It was a pleasure. And we'll see you in the next interview.